Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Mike Denbrock met with the media yesterday, and a couple of things he said I found really insightful talking about this LSU offense entering year two. And we know that when Brian Kelly and Mike Denbrock got here, that tight end was basically barren. You had lost Eric Gilbert. He had moved on, and you kind of lost some guys in the mix that you were looking for in recruiting. And you kind of looked up, and you had Mason Taylor, and you kind of felt like that was basically it. And they've kind of overhauled that by design. And Mike Denbrock talked about how having a quality tight end creates things for the offense.
I think it adds to our versatility as an offensive unit. We can be in 4 wide receivers and put a lot of speed on the field. We can be in 11 personnel with 3 good speed receivers and a tight end who can attach and be physical or get out in space and run routes. We can put 2 tight ends on the field and spread you out if you want to play big, heavy personnel, or tighten you up if you want to play smaller players and have that type of versatility that we didn't have a year ago to do some more of those things that we'd like to do.
And they've addressed it. Obviously, Mason Taylor had a great year, but they went and brought in 3 in this class, Jackson McGowan, and they brought in, obviously, Maurian Pimpton and Mac Markway. And it's young. It's still a very young group, but Mason Taylor proved you can do it as a freshman. You got to be physical, and you can't be scared. But these guys figure to be that. And so Denbrock spoke to his excitement level on this tight end group as a whole.
There's some blessings aplenty in that room. We got to figure out who fits best and where, and how to really utilize those guys the best way. But it's exciting, and it's been a little bit of a journey kind of getting that room where we thought it could really contribute to the way that I believe it will this season.
When you start talking about freshmen who are going to contribute, you automatically go to, oh, well, look, Lance Hurd, he's going to be in there playing. Well, Deshaun Womack, he's 5-star, he's got to be in there. Well, those position groups are pretty full. Like, Deshaun Womack's got a lot of older players to go through. Ovi Hufo has been in college for 5 years. Braden Swinson has played in the Pac-12 for 2 years. Like, Savion Jones is entering his 3rd season. These guys are older players. I'm not telling you Deshaun Womack's not going to play at all, but there are old guys there. You look at Lance Hurd. Well, they've got returning tackles. They've got returning guards. He very well may find his way into the lineup down the line, but it's a traffic jam. At tight end, it's not. Mason Taylor did a good job last year, and they'll lean on him a lot. I expect to see some of these freshmen in there. That's just the reality of it. They're big. They got physical gifts, and I think that the staff will find a way to put them in positions to be successful. Again, you don't have to be the focal point of the offense at tight end. They got Malik Neighbors out there. They got Brian Thomas out there. They got Kyron Lacey, Josh Williams, John Emery, Noah Kane, Gibbs, Daniels. Like, they got a lot of dudes who are going to be asked to do a lot. At tight end, they may just put you in a position to do something good. They're not going to put Maurian Pimpton in there to block an all-SEC pass rusher if he's not ready to do it. But if it's time to get in the red zone and throw a jump ball like I talked about yesterday, well, go get it. Maybe Mac Markway is ready to get in there and help Emory Jones on the right side be physical and downhill and short yardage. Jackson McGowan's got really good speed. He runs routes really well. He does a lot of the same things that Mason Taylor does. So that's an exciting piece to this puzzle in the tight end room. This was maybe the quote of the day, I thought, from Mike Denbrock, and it spoke to what they did in year 1 and how they can get better in year 2. And he's talking about creating explosive plays.
I thought we caught a lot of footballs with our backs turned to where we were trying to score last year, if that makes sense. So we ran a lot of stops and comebacks and different things like that, and we're good at it. So we've tried to correct that from a scheme standpoint. Not that we're not going to throw stop routes into the boundary and things like that, but I think what we looked at was trying to create more catch and run opportunities for the great athletes that we have. And I've seen some real positive progress where that's concerned. Subtle tweaks to what we were doing scheme-wise a year ago to allow those guys with proper ball placement to have a few more catch and run opportunities, and it's led to more explosiveness.
That makes all the sense in the world. And when you think back to last year in LSU's offense, you're like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They ran a ton of stop routes. Those are really good on third down, and they get you chunks of yards on first down, and they're effective. You had guys that could do it. Kayshon Boutte was pretty good at that. Malik Nabers is really good at it. Jack Besh could do that early in the season, not that he was called on a ton. But like that, LSU did run a lot of 10-yard, 8-yard, 6-yard stops last year. They did actually a ton of that in the Georgia game. If you go back and look at it, they felt like that's something that they could continually complete. But you're not going to be explosive with explosive players like Malik Nabers, like Brian Thomas, like Kyron Lacy, like Chris Hilton. Those guys can really run. And they're not going to be able to run if they catch the ball and have to turn around and restart all of their momentum. And if you'll recall yesterday, I highlighted one guy who they've got to get the ball to in some space. And when you talk about allowing guys to catch and run and creating explosives, this guy, Aaron Anderson, comes to mind.
He's a guy that has to touch the football. In the screen game, he's a very valuable piece. Touching the ball and running the ball on jet sweeps and things like that, sure, that's part of it. Sometimes you kind of look at like a Aaron Anderson and somebody who's got his ability to start and stop and run fast as maybe a one-trick type of player. But Aaron's unbelievably blessed with ball skills, and he can break people down in space. So we've got to get him into those scenarios as much as we possibly can and allow him to do what he's best at.
When you talk about catch and run, it doesn't have to be a 35-yard seam route. It doesn't have to be a post that's a deep ball up in the air. You can catch the football with your face mask pointed towards the end zone on a slip screen. That's as easy as a pass as there is to complete. Bubble screen, too. And if you look at LSU football's Instagram account with some of the stuff that they did last week, there's a video of Aaron Anderson catching a slip screen. And that's the kind of stuff that they've got to do to create yards after the catch. Once again, this is the same conversation we had in August last year, and it still rings true. I believe LSU's wide receiver room is more talented than the running back room. I believe LSU has more explosive playmakers in the wide receiver room than it does the running back room. Okay, well, you got to get those guys the ball to create the explosives. They're the ones that are going to do it. And you already know Malik Nabers, but it's evident now, and I talked about it yesterday extensively, that Aaron Anderson's coming. And he was elite at Carr. He commits to LSU for 10 months and then decommits, heads to Alabama, and then he got hurt there and comes back home. This is a guy that is starting to make waves. And to me, it feels like starting to push himself towards the 4th and 3rd spots. I still feel like Nabers and Thomas are 1 and 2. But they don't have the skill set Anderson does. I don't want to throw, if you'll remember the Florida game last year, Jaden throws the ball up and Brian Thomas just mosses a Florida receiver. I don't want to throw that one to Aaron Anderson. I'll throw that one to Lacy or Thomas or Nabers. But I don't really want to throw Kyron Lacy a slip screen. Not that he can't catch it and run, but he can't do it like Anderson can. Can't really do it like Chris Hilton can. You've got different skill sets. You got to use those. And I thought it was not something I had thought about with LSU running a lot of hitches and stops last year. But certainly now that I start to think about it, it's like, oh, yeah, they did do a ton of that last year. They're looking to change that this year. And 1, that's throwing the ball down the field. But 2, just creating catch-and-run situations with make-you-miss guys like Anderson and Nabers. I'm all for that. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button. Leave your comments below and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.